So we'll go ahead and get started here. I'm going to share my screen, and if somebody can just throw in the chat that they can see my slides, I would appreciate it. Okay, so it looks like we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So once again, thanks everybody for joining us and being patient. So first off here, we have our new producer builders, various levels here from the $100,000 all the way up to $1 million. Based on your first 18 months of production with us here at IAMS, you can see that at that $100,000 level, you can have a $750,000 cash all the way up to the $1 million. There's various marketing programs, vacation stays, all that kind of good stuff. So if you have any questions on if you're within your first 180 days, you want to see what production level you're at and where you qualify, reach out to one of your sales directors here. As always, our best number is 800-255-5055. Next, we have our business builders. So we have a couple of those. We have our referred producer program, and then we have our marketing reimbursement. So on the referred producer program, we'll pay out a $50 bonus when a new agent gets contracted with us, and then quarterly we'll cut checks on various different production levels there from 15 bips there on the life target and 20 bips on a indexed annuity. So if you have any questions on there, obviously reach out to a sales director. Secondly, we have our marketing reimbursement program. So we'll share some costs on any marketing that you're paying for from either seminars, purchasing leads, doing any ad spend that you're having. So on we'll give you $100 in your marketing reimbursement for 100K of FIA production. And then on the SPL side, it'll be $200 for every $100,000 in premium. And on the target side, $200 per $10,000 in premium. Next here, we have our back office support. So we really pride ourselves here on the support that we provide our independent agents. So from case design to new business assistance, access to our agent portal, helping out with life and annuity quotes. So we do want to be truly business partners with you and helping you grow your practice. So we really pride ourselves on this and feel like we take it a step above other IMOs. So if you haven't had an opportunity to work with us yet, give us a shot on a case that you're working on, and we can then prove to you and show our value to you on our back office support and our support that everybody on our team here provides. Next, I had mentioned our agent portal. So our IAMS website is IAMSinc.com. So you'll have access to the portal once you are contracted with us here at IAMS. A ton of different resources and tools you'll have access to right away. On the life insurance side specifically, you'll have a term and GUL quoter tool, final expense quoter tool, forms at your fingertips, long-term care grids. On the annuity side, you'll have access to Luma and Firelight and Annuity Rate Watch and a bunch of different resources there. I have mentioned here our sales resource library. You can spend all day in there going through all the resources in there, from fact finders, presentations that have been created, tax guides, a bunch of different things. So if you have any questions on the IAMS website and how to utilize that for your practice, reach out to your sales director. Next, we have our eApp solution. So we work with 4 different platforms here: Luma, Firelight, iPipeline, and Sunfire. As we are aware, a majority of the industry is going to eApp or eApp only. So it's a huge thing that we'll be able to help support you out on. And if you have any issues, we can help you through troubleshooting there. So once again, if you have any questions, reach out to a sales director here at 800-255-5055. Next, we have our creative services team. So Jacob and his team do an amazing job on the kind of the marketing and collateral side of things. Help you create websites. We'll create you logos, business cards, brochures there on kind of the agency solutions and kind of print side of things. Also on the digital side, like I said, can help create websites, do social media training, help out there launching social media pages, email marketing, online newsletters. So if you have any questions on how creative services can help you out on the marketing and branding side of things, reach out to a sales director and they will get you connected with the creative services team. Next, we have our IAMS Wealth Management division that was started 6 or 7 years ago. If you're not familiar with kind of having a Series 65 license, manage money, it's something I would highly consider looking into. It's a great way to increase revenue. but most importantly, improve and strengthen your relationships with your clients. If you can become a one-stop shop for your clients, the likelihood of them leaving are very low. So Charles Jr. and his team, Duncan, they do a great job of helping you out. If you already have an existing book that you're wanting to maybe look at some different support from your current IMO or RIA, or if you're brand new into the business or brand new into getting your Series 65, they can help out with that also. Couple more things here. Next, we have our Life and Annuity Academy. So we'll host 3 to 4 of these throughout the year. Generally, we'll partner with a couple different carriers, and then we'll also bring in a handful of different speakers. So it's a great way to spend 2.5, 3 days inside your business, sharpening your marketing and sales skills, spending some time with other top producers from across the country to give you some sales ideas, marketing strategies. IAMS Wealth Management will also have a presentation. So if you're interested in our next upcoming Life and Annuity Academy, I think it'll be middle of summer. We haven't announced the exact dates yet, though, but be on the lookout for those. And finally, here we have our Top Producers Summit. Qualification will end here in about 15 days or so. So we do run that on an 18-month qualification period. So like I said, about a week or so here left of production. So if you're on that verge or want to see where you stack up in the standings, reach out to your sales director. You do need 5 million points to qualify for the trip. And this year they will be heading up to Quebec City, Quebec, August 3rd through the 8th. And with that, I will hand things over to Travis. Hopefully we can get everything worked out here. Once again, appreciate everybody's patience. And I will hand things over to Travis. Really excited to have Travis on here again. We had about a month ago, did a kind of an intro into NIW Kai-Zen Premium Financing Solution. So going to take a kind of deep dive in here to their ILIA platform, which is going to have a bunch of their marketing collateral, create your proposals to the for clients, and we'll go from there. So I can see your screen now, Travis.
All right, can you hear me there?
I got you now, sir.
Perfect. Okay, and you see my screen?
And I got you. We're up and running.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Sorry for the technical glitches here. This is part 2 to the Kaizen webinar like we did about a month ago. But we're going to go a little deep dive into the software and discuss, kind of the tools that you have kind of at your fingertips in regards to how to present, how to market, how to enroll a client into the Kaizen platform using ILIA. ILIA has really changed the way that we do business here at NIW. It used to be a paper app, a paper trust, a very paper-intensive, labor-intensive process. We've now gotten to a place where we've truly digitized the entire process all the way down to being able to wire and send money via ACH. The entire process now to submit a Kaizen case is now inside of this ILIA platform. So again, very, very excited. And because of some of this technology, it's also allowed us to do things like monthly pay with companies like Allianz. To this day, we're the only leveraged premium finance company that offers a monthly payment program for Kaizen. So very, very exciting from that perspective. So we're going to do something. I'm going to kind of, hopefully this works, guys. My apologies again. I wasn't ready to test a live demo on this system. So again, please be patient with me here. This normally is done as a live ILIA demonstration. So we're gonna turn our attention to ILIA here. Just gonna make sure. And if you can, John, tell me if you see this, the ILIA screen in front of you.
Yep, I got it.
You got it. Okay, cool. All right. So this is the ILIA platform. Now, when you get contracted or sign a selling agreement with IAMS, you're going to get access to this system that you see here in front of you. And this is kind of everything that you need as an agent to be able to submit cases to the carrier, to run your own illustrations, to do and also doing some of your marketing as well. So let's just start with the dashboard. What's this dashboard have in it? How do you customize it? Well, when you get access, the first thing you're going to want to do is go over here to welcome, and your name's going to be in there. And you're going to be able to start entering in information, your picture, your address, your company information. Why? Because all of the communication that comes from this system is going to be co-branded to you and your brand and your company. You'll be able to put your logo, your picture, the carriers that you represent, and so forth. So this system really is kind of your Kaizen CRM portal to be able to communicate, enroll, and with the client as well as the insurance company and as well as your IMO. So from the top down on the left-hand side, this is kind of like where you're going to be getting all of the information that you need, whether it's inviting a client to ILIA, whether it's training, whether it's following up on your cases and getting notifications. All this is found on the agent portal on the left-hand side. So the first thing that you do, where a lot of processes are, get an illustration first or a brochure or however you're currently sitting down with your client, we are really encouraging utilizing ILIA as the sales tool uh, to sit down and educate your client on how ILIA or Kaizen works. The way that you introduce this is two ways. The first way ultimately is you can click on client presentation. That actually takes you into the customer portal where they're going to actually educate themselves as well as you with them through the platform. And it's also the area at which they're going to hit the enrollment button and go through enrollment. So that client presentation, a lot of our agents are using that as their first kind of 10 or 15-minute introduction to what Kaizen is. And they're using this, what we call the demo or client presentation portal, to introduce the client. Now, if you have National Life Group or Allianz, whoever you're using, when you click on the carrier and you click on Kaizen as the product, you'll be able to start that demo. And we're going to do that in a minute. The other way, once you've already shown the client what Kaizen and ILIA is, you go into here and create new invitation. This is a way for you to directly invite that client to the ILIA platform so that they can go and review it again, as well as start the enrollment process. So all of this is done through ILIA. Now note that when you send an invitation through this system, the client's going to get an invite through myilia.com. It's going to have your picture and your logo and your company on it, but it will be coming from MyILIA. So this system, again, is all going to be surrounded by that myilia.com a website. One thing to note when you are using this system, make sure that you have your Nevada non-resident license already set up before you start inviting clients, because your client is going to be buying a policy in the state of Nevada because their trust is going to own it. You need that non-resident license in Nevada. Why is that important before you start engaging in ILIA? Well, if your client actually starts enrolling and goes through the process, which they can, and even sign, that can happen. And if that happens before you get your non-resident license, we have to start that app all over again. So just know that this system allows you and the client to go through that enrollment process. And being so, you definitely want to have your non-resident license ready to go. So that's what's going on up here on the client invitation and client presentation. Everything else on here is going to have to do a lot with marketing and training. The client management system is going to allow you to see the status of your client's progress through the enrollment process. So this is allowing you to keep tabs on every step that requires you or the client to engage and get that case moving forward. So it's very, very interactive, and it's very client and agent centric. The next area that I would like to show for you guys, especially if you're new to ILIA and Kaizen, is the agent training. This was kind of developed for you to be able to go through a step-by-step process, starting with why Kaizen in the first place. What's the problem? What marketing ideas what challenges or financial challenges does Kaizen address to help your high-income earning clients? Why is Kaizen the solution? How are these cases designed? How does the policy work? So if you need some additional deep dive moments in your education through Kaizen, this is where you're gonna spend the most time. And I would also say that FAQs, as much as none of us like to read a lot of this data. Every question that you can think of, down to why was Kaizen created, all the way down to the what ifs and the performance and the kind of loan it is, all of the things that you would think a client would ask, you're probably asking yourself. How does this work? It's all found in FAQs. Also, there's an entire area on sales tools, marketing tools, and then how to enroll a client. So again, fully robust training platform for you to go into once you have the access to ILIA. Now, from a marketing materials perspective, we do a lot of video content. Why? Because a lot of our agents are using social media, their website. They might be using email blasts and nurturing campaigns. We support you with all that in regards to its content. So if you're looking for that video or something in regards to a demographic that you're marketing to, most likely it's going to be found here in client videos. Every one of these client videos can be downloaded as an MP4 and can be used in your own marketing campaigns. So if IAMS is helping you with some of that stuff, or maybe your social media campaigns or email blasts or existing client lists, you can utilize these MP4s inside of whatever campaign you're addressing. We also go to a great extent to create some pretty compelling social media posts. Now, we do this as a company and as a brand, but you're welcome to use every one of these images, the copy found in them, and then redirect any of that interest back to your marketing campaign. So please, no problem at all. Take anything you find here. If you want to use from a marketing perspective, repurpose that into your own social media campaigns and redirect. And I'm going to give you a really cool tool where you will be able to redirect clients back to your particular marketing page. And then of course, there's the payment options, all the different ways that your client can pay. Tranche dates. These are the dates that you need to be aware of as you're selling Kaizen to be informed on when a tranche is funding and when a tranche pays. We have 4 more for the rest of the year. So of course, you've got plenty of time to submit the business before the end of the year. And then of course, additional prep for the client and prepping your client for what that enrollment process is going to ask them. So remember, I was talking about marketing for a minute, and let's say you did a social media campaign and you were using LinkedIn or you were using Instagram or Facebook. You could take our content, utilize any of the copy or create your own, and then the call to action could be what we call an agent link. Now, what is agent link? Agent link is your own personal website or landing page that will have your picture on it, your content, your phone number, your email address, and it will redirect all attention back to either an enrollment page inside of your ILIA account or a call to action to call you or set up an appointment. So what does that landing page look like? So if you wanted to use Allianz and you wanted to do the Allianz landing page, as you see popping up on the screen is going to be your customized landing page with your picture, your phone number, your email address, and it's going to explain why they're there. What is Kaizen all about in about 2.5 minutes? Why are people here? Kind of who qualifies? What's the approach and how does it work? It also gives them an active estimator or illustrator on how this works right at their fingertips. So if they're 38 years old and they want to put in $40,000 a year, this is what the estimated benefits would be versus a traditional funded IUL. And then of course they can continue to learn more. Now, when they're ready to move forward, if they click anywhere where it says learn about Kaizen, they're going to be able to go through that same educational process you went through, but they're going to do it through the lens of a customer. So again, how to navigate the site and what to expect, estimating their benefits before they ever are asked anything about themselves. One thing that we learned through this marketing approach was that when you ask for too much information too soon, they leave your site. So what we have found in this approach, this more educational approach, is we're seeing more and more clients staying longer and getting to a place where they're getting through a good portion of this, and then either calling the agent, emailing the agent, or right here allows them to actually sign in, set up a username and password, and at which time you're notified that your client is ready to engage in an enrollment process. So this all is created and given to you when you sign up with NIW and the Kai-Zen program through IAMS. It's a really great tool to be able to share with your clients before having to truly engage with that second or third appointment. So that is a lot of what's going on inside of Agent Link. There's a lot of information here. Even if you currently may not have a customer for this, but you want to just dig a little deeper, understand it more, getting access to ILIA is probably your best first step in kind of progressing through this Kaizen education. So what else is in here that you should know about? The other part I think is very important is the agent demo. So what is that? This is, or the client demo. This is again where a lot of agents are going in and sitting down with their client via laptop or iPad and going through the presentation. This is going to give your client and you about a 3-minute, like, what is Kaizen? How does it work? Why do people buy it? Right here on the front page. And then everything on the left down are going to just be educational. It's like an educational format. What are the client's problems? How does this plan work? And about a 2.5-minute video on how does indexing work? How do we use leverage with that IUL? Then underneath it is kind of like an IUL 101 course. How does the product actually work? All of this is consumer compliant information and explains specifically how Index Universal Life works. How is it credited? How does it protect you from zeros? How do you lock in those benefits or those cash values? How does a cap and a par work? Everything that you have been explaining probably on a pen and pad, this is all done in a digital platform for you. Why that zero is such an important part of the safety aspect. And then leverage. How does this leverage work? How does it coincide with our banks? What kind of terms are associated with this particular loan? No interest payments, no loan documents, no credit checks, no personal guarantees. Everything that you need to kind of know and get the client comfortable with it. How does this work over the next 15 years? All very visual depictions of the benefits and how they work over the next 15, 20, or 30 years of your life. And then why do lenders participate? Kind of giving them confidence about the program. The next tab is how to kind of talk about the risk profile, the stress testing that this goes through. And then every single one of these little eyes that you find inside the site gives you an even more detailed explanation of what's being represented here. So a lot of great, again, educational things that you can talk with your client when you're going through Kaizen. Back when I started, it was an 8-page illustration. Now we've got a much robust explanation for the consumer. And then, of course, all of the FAQs are here for the client to go over as well. And then when the client's ready to enroll, this button on the client side is actually glowing green. And when the client clicks on that, that's going to begin an enrollment process that directly communicates with Allianz and National Life, depending on the carrier that you're using. So again, this system is very tied into the carriers. The carriers get direct feeds, whether it's illustrations, medical questions through from Allianz's perspective, underwriting decisions all come through the ILIA platform. Now, one of the biggest advancements that we have seen over the past 3 years is the ability to run illustrations. Now, back again, if you've been with us for a while, back when we started, it was a 24-hour turnaround to get a standard Kaizen quote. Now, we've automated this over the past couple of years, allowing you to get instant access to illustrations within about a minute, allowing you to customize it from a distribution perspective and really have the ability to run these without having to put a request into NIW. So how do you do this? It's literally this simple. Put in the client's name, the date of birth, the gender, the health rate, whether they smoke or not, and hit next. Most of us are running these as maximum distribution plans. So for income purposes, you can run these as death benefit protection. However, a lot of our cases are going to be for distribution. And then, of course, you can put in that premium that the client's willing to pay. Now, with Allianz, you've got the option of annual and monthly. The minimum premiums can be found right here under total contributions. If you put a number that's too small, it'll tell you what that minimum premium is for that client and their age. So at this particular case, 45-year-old female, 21,350 is the minimum. So let's just bump that up to 25,000 and you'll see that go away. Then you'd hit next, and then you can start running the illustration distributions. Now, why 61? Well, because as we learned about on our last webinar, we need to allow these to run for about 15 years, or wait about 15 years before you start taking distributions out of these policies. That's about when there's enough cash value to safely pay back the lender, and then the client can start accessing those distributions. So you can start them at 61. You might defer till age 70, depending on what that client's retirement plan is, and then of course hit next. Now, we're going to go over some of this in the following slides after I'm done going over this portion of it in regards to Allianz's and National Life's, for that matter, allocations. And I know the team over there, if you want to go deep into the Allianz allocations, they have what's called the classic. They got a bonus. They got the select. They've got a handful here that have different multipliers and or bonuses associated. We're going to give you the opportunity to make that decision with the client, whether you want to go aggressive, maybe with the select with the 1% cost, maybe moderate with the 15% multiplier no cost, or conservative, which represents the 1% guarantee bonus with no cost. We are not going to make that choice for you here at NIW. However, knowing the AG 49 A/B regulations that have been imposed on IUL, how you run these and what allocation you choose will dramatically affect the income that can be illustrated. So right off the get-go on this call, guys, I'm going to let you know conservative is going to give you or show probably the more accurate depiction of what the distributions will look like in the future. Moderate and aggressive, you are not allowed to show those multipliers in an illustration. And aggressive is even tougher because there's not only a cost, but you can't show the 40% multiplier. So how you handle that with a client, that's going to be up to you. We are not going to tell you which one to use. However, I will tell you conservative is the one that really does show the benefit of accessing the leverage. So once you make that choice and hit view results, this is what's happening behind the scenes. Back when we were running these, we needed to run a current illustration, which you would expect, which is basically the current forward curve of the bank loan, and then of course the current illustrated rate of the carrier. The second thing we ran was a stress test of the 1980s, and then a third illustration is the stress test of the Great Depression, 1930 to 1945. And then we have this other illustration that needs to be run, which is called a low point. That is an illustration that is run from the bank's perspective. They need to see what that low point calculation is to ensure that there's always going to be enough cash value in the plan to cover the collateral. That took our team about 15 to 20 minutes per illustration. What you just saw was the illustration ran in about 60 to 90 seconds. So again, very exciting tool that's embedded. So what you see here is right over here under loading illustrations, it's putting those PDFs together, the carrier quote, as well as the Kai-Zen quote. And then of course you have your, how is this leveraged? How much bank leverage do we get per the amount that the client's putting in this case, 125 from the consumer, 321 from the bank. What are the general benefits? Well, for this 45-year-old female, it's generating $700,000 in death benefit, roughly $65,000 in tax-free loans, and then a total benefit of almost $2 million with death benefit and loans from 70 to 90. So this just gives you a snapshot of the benefits that your client would potentially receive from the Kai-Zen plan. And then the third column represents a comparison of, hey, what does Kai-Zen look like against a self-funded IUL, maybe against an after-tax or pre-tax investment, running the same rates of return that the IUL was ran at. So that's what you get inside of Estimate My Benefits. But also now what you get is the ability to view the illustration. This carrier illustration is in this case, Allianz illustration, straight from their software. So you can save and download that right onto your PC, as you can see on the screen here. And then what you also have is the Kai-Zen illustration. And this is available right here to download with your name on it, your client's name on it. And this allows you to sit down and kind of discuss that. And we're going to cover some of those nuances at the tail end of this webinar today. So all of this, again, is available for you. Now, your client cannot download those illustrations. They can view them, but they're not downloadable. Only you as the agent have the ability to download those illustrations. So that's just a kind of a deep dive into the illustration system. It's a very comprehensive system. We're very proud of it. We love having it. And again, depending on your carrier of choice, Allianz and National Life, they both ultimately work exactly the same thing, tying into the carrier's illustration website. All right, so let's go back to the webinar really quick. And we're going to go over some of those nuances. Give me one moment, guys. All right, we're going to go over some of those nuances of the, oh gosh, what are the conservative, the moderate, the aggressive, and how that really affects the illustration. This is the conservative. That was the one that we just viewed. This is of a 45-year-old male. And you can see here, the 1% bonus. You guys are all accustomed to that. This current illustration is 665. And distributions on a case like this would be about $86,000. So you can see the benefit of the leverage when you're using that particular allocation compared to these other maybe investment and or savings types. But look what happens with moderate. Now we're taking the bonus away completely, that guarantee 1%. We're giving the client a 15% multiplier. And because we don't have any guaranteed bonus in there, AG49 allows for a higher illustrated rate. But look what it does to the distribution. It literally cuts it in half. It's actually worse than half. And the real question is a lot of what we've gotten is ILIA is broken. There's something wrong with your software. Well, there's nothing wrong with the software. This is just a reflection of utilizing moderate or aggressive versus conservative. The decrease in income, even on a non-leveraged plan, would look very similar. So this is not a Kai-Zen issue, as it more is an AG49 issue. So when your client sees these other options, they're going, why would I do Kai-Zen when I can just do a index life without leverage or these other investment types? And it really has to do with the illustration not being able to show the additional 1% as well as the illustrated rate that you can on the moderate allocation. And it's even more direct, more distinct in the aggressive one as well. So just understand that. I'm not going to spend a ton of time here, guys. I just want you to know ILIA is not broken. The software works just fine, but this is a reflection of the AG49 allocations. Same thing with NLG if you're using them, using their low vol allocation versus their S&P cap allocation. There's a massive decrease when going to the cap. That's also reflective in their current illustrated rate as well as the lower bonuses found in that particular allocation. Again, illustrations aren't broken. This is just subject to AG49 rules and regs. So that's what's going on there from an illustration perspective. But I also want to go into some of the things that you're going to see on the Kai-Zen ledger that I really like to point out to people that are new to ILIA or new to Kai-Zen. The stress test numbers. Now, we all know that the illustrations that we show our clients and those incomes that we are illustrating are not going to be what they're going to get. As a matter of fact, they could be higher, they could be lower, but they're not going to be, in this case, 89,000, right? Rarely are we able to show a client, what a stressed environment might look like if their IUL was going through a Great Depression or a high interest rate of the 1980s. And that's the one thing that we love, or I love, about the Kai-Zen illustration, is it lets the client know that, one, Kai-Zen works in both environments. So if I'm nervous about what this would look like in a double-digit interest rate environment like the 1980s, how would my policy fare during that time? Or what if my policy went through something like the Great Depression, which represents 9 zeros in a 15-year period? What would my income look like at 65 if that happened? And so all of our plans are put through that process because we had to prove to the lenders that even under stressed environments, the policy could still pay the bank back without the client paying any more money. However, we also want to make sure that there's still a benefit there for the client, even under a stressed environment. So whether it's the 1980s that represented double-digit borrowing rates or the Great Depression, you can see that the plan still paid back the bank in the year 15. If we held the policy till age 65, we would get roughly 66,000 in a 1980s environment and roughly $57,000 in a Great Depression environment. Now, obviously it's not 89, but under a stressed environment in the 1980s, it was still higher than a self-funded plan, and we weren't too far off of the Great Depression and a self-funded plan. But remember, the self-funded plan represents only a 5-pay. So if you're on the call today and you're going, well, if you only paid 5 years and we had 9 years of zeros, you would expect the client probably to have to pay more premium into their plan, or that policy may lapse. So what I love about this is it gives a client some good expectation of where it could be in a more stressed environment versus where we'd like it to be, probably in a more normal environment. Don't ever make sure always to utilize these numbers, because it really does help set proper expectations for your client over the 15-year journey of getting us to that place where there's enough cash value to pay the bank back. Now, what do these columns, what does this ledger mean to you? What does it mean to your client? Well, what this is just, again, a representation, all the numbers pulled off of an Allianz illustration and put into a more client-friendly version with the banking portion added to it. So again, these are numbers coming right off the Allianz ledger, and then we add the banking piece to this illustration. Now, what do these columns represent? Well, this first column represents what the forward curve, or what we are being told can expect from what loan rates are going to be over the next 15 years. Now, understand, this is only an estimation from companies like PIMCO. These are given to us as a forward curve or expectation. Does not mean that that's what it's going to be. But what I also want you to know is that NIW is not making that number up. That number is coming from the carriers asking us to use a responsible forward curve or estimation of what the bank loan might be with their spread. The next column is the maximum guideline annual premium. These are max funded from day one. That $93,000 represents the guideline annual premium for this particular client and their age. Now, the client's putting in $50,000. They're agreeing to put in that $50,000. And that also embedded in there is a 1350 trust fee. As we learned last week, there's a trust associated with Kai-Zen. So that $50,000 is their premium plus that 1350 trust fee. And then column C represents what the bank's putting in. So that is the leverage that we're getting on the behalf of the client putting their $50,000 5-pay in. Column D represents the loan. Ultimately, that'll be paid back via a participating loan from the policy, and column E just represents the loan plus interest that's accruing during those 15 years. Again, it's almost like a balloon note. It's not being paid back until that 15th year. That's just column E just represents an accounting for the loan plus interest for the purposes of being able to pay the bank back what they have lent to the plan. Now, this is what's kind of an interesting part of the ledger. This part of the ledger is pretty unique in the sense that most of you are probably not using what is called the early liquidity rider with Allianz. It's a waiver of surrender penalty. So all of our Kai-Zen designs have this early liquidity rider added to it because the policy itself is the sole collateral for the loan. See, in traditional premium financing, you would set aside not only the cash values in your policy for collateral, but you would also have to set aside personal guarantees and or brokerage accounts that would be in a collateral position while you're borrowing the money from the bank. Kai-Zen's completely different. We're getting this loan on the behalf of the client with the policy being the sole collateral for access to the leverage. So we have to use that rider so that the loan that they're providing to the plan is completely covered by the policy's cash values. So if you look at across the top there, the client's putting in 50, the bank's putting in 44, and there's a $47,000 loan plus interest in column E year one. But if you look at column F and G, that represents the cash surrender value in the plan. So you have $81,000 of cash covering a $47,000 loan. That loan to value makes the bank feel extremely comfortable with providing leverage, with the policy being the sole collateral. Now, what does that mean to the client? Well, column H represents what the cash surrender value would be after the bank was paid back. So if your client at the end of year 2, year 3, year 4 decided that they no longer wanted to be in this policy, the policy would be able to pay the loan back plus interest, and the client would be able to get whatever was represented in column H. It doesn't mean that they have to lose their plan. They can self-fund their policy. They just lose access to their leverage. So this is a very different, I would say even more conservative approach to utilizing leverage, where we've removed a lot of the risk associated with borrowing. Second thing I want to introduce to you guys is the risk profile. I used to run a lot of illustrations in my day. We never used this rider. What I would challenge you at the end of this call to do is run a $50,000 5-pay. Don't use the early liquidity rider and look at what the cash surrender value is. It's probably in the ballpark of $7,000 or $8,000. So from a surrender or walkaway perspective, there's a lot more liquidity in a Kai-Zen plan than the 5 or even 7-pay you might be selling today. So it's a very, very client-centric plan that we just, once you understand the columns and how it works, we've really de-riskified the plan. Now, of course, obviously, there's always going to be enough death benefit to pay back the loan plus interest in any given year. We do all of the material changes and servicing, dropping the death benefit, evaluating the plan, ensuring that it's on pace. We do that in year 10 moving forward. Once there's enough cash value in about year 15, we pay that loan back, and then the client can start taking distributions, as you see here in column K. Pretty straightforward. But once you understand the numbers and understand the logic behind the design, you'll really see that this is a very, very, again, risk adverse plan, and it's very actually quite simple to explain to a client. So how do you get this software? How do you get access? Contact the team at IAMS. They have the selling agreement that allows you to get access to ILIA, all the training, all those marketing pages, video content, the enrollment page, everything's there in the system. So if you like what you saw today and you want to kind of do a deeper dive, please contact your IAMS team and they will get you the selling agreement. And typically we'll turn that around within 24 to 48 hours. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for giving me the time again on part 2 of this Kaizen journey, and let us know what we can do to help you guys.
Thank you, Travis. Once again, appreciate everybody's time. If you have any questions, obviously reach out to myself or Paul here at IAMS, 2 life sales directors over here. We can get you the selling agreement over. Like I said, and actually it's been pretty good, but don't want to set the expectation. Everyone that I've had send in that selling agreement, they've had access within 48 hours. So if you have some clients in mind, it's not like we're going to be held up that, hey, you can't take some material to them and get access to ILIA here and can get some cases rolling. So appreciate everybody's time here. Once again, thanks for being patient with us as we work through some technical difficulties and let us know whatever questions you have. And once again, thank you, Travis, and hope everybody has a great week.
You too. Thanks.